Starfield. I did not expect it to be this polarizing. I won't even get into the pronoun stuff or the PlayStation versus Xbox war, which is just extremely childish. Ackman just dropped a great video on that and a few other things, so I recommend you go check it out.
Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity!
Oh shit! Look at this woke coffee mug I just found. You guys, this is so much worse than the woke toilets in the Dead Space remake. I would rather shit my pants than take a dump in one of those.
But Starfield's been getting a lot of heat about how boring it is. The beginning is slow, the worlds are empty, there are too many loading screens.
Shit, okay, where's the box for where the shops are? There's the box for the shops. Press that there. You don't even need a fucking spaceship. It's just loading screen simulator. That's all this is. You literally walk to loading screens.
And is Starfield actually boring? To get it out front there, yes, I think Starfield can be boring at times. It depends a lot on who you are, what you're playing for, and what you're looking for. Hence why I think it's so polarizing. I want to take a look at this division and give some of my early impressions of the game and opinions and break these down a bit. Of course, I do plan on doing a full review of Starfield where I'll break down some of the game mechanics and do a more in-depth look at it, but here I just kind of want to get some of my initial thoughts out there, as well as take a look at why the game is considered boring. And if you like my video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I also enjoy responding to all your comments and engaging with you guys, whether, you know, our opinions are the same or not. And I always like to remind people that these are just that, opinions, people, opinions, and that these are just that, video games. They're not that important, so let's all just remember to have fun. Just to throw that out there before I either get attacked by the Xbox fanboys that, you know,
you can't speak anything wrong about Bethesda and Starfield,
or I just get absolutely bombarded by PlayStation crybabies who are just absolutely whining because the game isn't on their console. So I've played about 30 hours of the game so far, and I'm a decent chunk through the main story, and I'll just get straight to the point. I'm having a lot of fun with Starfield, and I really do enjoy the game. But that does not mean I can't admit that it has its faults. So you can't just call me a Bethesda fanboy or Todd Howard bootlicker.
All of this just works. These NPCs are not scripted.
You know, I admit, Bethesda games I would consider a pleasure of mine. I just tend to love their magic. Skyrim, if not my favorite game, is definitely one of them for me. I'm also a sucker for sci-fi and space stuff. I find all that super interesting, and it really hits a certain note with me. And like I said, I recognize that. So when I look at Starfield, I can reel that back a bit and look at the game fairly objectively. I understand I might be wearing some rose-tinted glasses here and there, so I gotta take them off. That was a really shitty ad-lib joke.
Oh, you stink!
And I'll say it again here. You could enjoy something and admit its faults. People on the internet have a super hard time grasping this concept. It's extremely obnoxious. So with that, why is Starfield considered boring by so many people? I think the core of the issue is that you really need to find the fun in Starfield. They really cast a big net here, and I have a lot of different mechanics, and none of them are really super deep, some more than others, but the game could be considered shallow at some points, which could be good for some casual gamers, people who want a relaxing romp through space or to play a certain role or dabble in a few. But for the more hardcore gamers who might be looking for some real depth here, this game might be lacking. You know, but like I said, there's a lot here, so there could be something for you here. Like for me, and for a lot of people, it's a pretty common opinion, the shipbuilding is great. I want to become a space captain with a huge fleet, huge Class C ship, which can be done, but it takes a lot of time and credits, and I'm having a lot of fun working there. And it's not necessarily hard to find your fun, but there's some key differences in Starfield versus previous Bethesda games that maybe it's not quite hooking people like some of the other ones did. You know, that paired with it's kind of a slow start. I think Starfield is kind of getting a bad rep. That's also not necessarily the most fair. So it's, like I said, it's polarizing. Let's go ahead and break down the 3 major critiques of Starfield's boringness and take a look at each one. And maybe I could point out some of the ways that Starfield was not boring for me. The first major critique is that the exploration is boring because the worlds are big, empty, and, well, you guessed it, boring. I think this is really misleading. The procedurally generated worlds can be empty and boring, sure, if you wander aimlessly around them. Like, yes, of course those worlds are boring. You landed on some random moon out in, you know, the 90th star system, and when you scan it, there's nothing there. So you're going to land there and walk around, and there's going to be nothing there except for procedurally generated shit. And sure, Bethesda marketed that like, ooh, 1,000 worlds, kind of acting like they're all going to be important.
Go where you want, do whatever you want.
And that's kind of a marketing bag on Bethesda, but I'm not going to shit on Bethesda for not making 1,000 worlds that are super high quality. That would have been impossible. Sorry, future Troll here. I should have said we shouldn't shit on the game as a whole because of poor marketing, but we should shit on Bethesda because, yes, they do tend to mislead us with marketing. Thank you. Bye-bye. If you find the procedurally generated worlds boring, maybe try and explore the handcrafted worlds, because there's plenty of entertaining content in those worlds. You know, damn, you explore these and you are thrown more side quests and activities and things to do that it's almost overwhelming at times. Like, every vendor or shop owner has to mention a problem and is like implying like, hey, you could fix that. And you could, of course, ask more or just fucking ignore them. So there's a lot of good content in these worlds. I feel like Bethesda created these worlds so that way they could market it because they knew it would sell more. And for modders, because they're super big on their modding community, and now their modding community has 1,000 worlds to play with. And I know the whole realistic approach to Starfield is kind of a hot topic. People might be calling that boring in itself too. And I see what they're saying. You know, sometimes fantasy is better than reality. That's why we play video games, right? But me personally, I kind of like it, and I commend Bethesda for going that way. It does give Starfield its own unique flavor, and I'm kind of a sucker for some of that realistic sci-fi, such as like Interstellar or The Expanse. Anyways, my point here being is that, yes, those procedurally generated 900 worlds are boring, but there's a lot of content on the handcrafted worlds that is really, really good. So you can't really bag them too much for having all this extra shit. The only fair point being that they did market that, but at the end of the day, the game is still good. The actual handcrafted stuff is good. The next major critique is the loading screens. Yes, load field.
It's just loading screen simulator. That's all this is.
Again here, I see both sides. But again, you know, it's all about how you kind of approach the game and what you're looking for. People really thought this was probably going to be like No Man's Sky or Elite Dangerous with some seamless transitions from one planet to another or just flying through space. You know, Todd Howard and Bethesda never made that comparison, but I could see from gameplay footage and the way that they talked about it and marketed it, how people could get that idea.
But over 100 systems, over 1,000 planets, all open for you to explore, all open.
You know, I don't think it's really fair to hold them to that standard when games like Elite Dangerous and No Man's Sky have pretty much not nearly the amount of story and intricate plots that Bethesda has. But yet again, of course, Starfield and Todd Howard just kind of do some misleading marketing, man. They just love doing that. And it's not even here that they explicitly told you something incorrect. It's that they kind of just hinted. They're like, yeah, it kind of looks like No Man's Sky, right? Look at that.
You just pissed it off. Yeah!
You're like, ah, shit. Well, yeah, I got to draw that comparison, but it ends up not being like it. And I get a lot of the exploration in previous Bethesda games are kind of just wandering around an open world. It was pretty freeing and lots of times beautiful. And here, a lot of the exploration and seeing what's out there is unfortunately done through the star map. And this one, I will kind of side that this is kind of a negative to the game overall. They could have figured out a better way to do this. Something a little more immersive, maybe, such as, you know, your character walks over to the star map and you kind of interact with it, kind of like how you do in Mass Effect or something like that. But then you do kind of go in and out of the star map a lot. So I'm not sure. I don't design video games. Someone with a degree in it could probably figure out something better. Again, I kind of get what people are saying, but it's hard for me to knock on them too hard because that would have just been ridiculous for them to have flight like No Man's Sky. So, you know, you can tell their main focus here was more story and role play and was not traversal and explorative. You know, the next big criticism is the slow start. And here I will admit, yes, the game does have a slow start. The initial quests for Constellation are kind of simple and boring. And I feel like some people's instincts after that will be kind of just to go off in a random direction, say, fuck the main plot. I'm going to start randomly exploring planets. And like I said, that fast of the game isn't what it used to be in Bethesda. You can't just walk off in a random direction. So you can kind of see how the boring spiral kind of starts here. Main plot's boring. you end up on a random planet with nothing to do, and you're kind of like, damn, this game is boring. And also, a lot of the really cool features are locked behind the skill tree here. And I never thought I'd be making this comparison, but Starfield does maybe have just a tiny bit of Kingdom Come Deliverance in it, when in the beginning, your character kind of sucks at a lot of different stuff, except for combat. Combat's super easy. But a lot of the more cool, complex mechanics, like the shipbuilding, ship combat, the crafting, and the building the outpost stuff, and even like stealth, you're going to be really shitty at in the beginning until you actually invest some perk points into it. You know, a lot of those mechanics are either level or perk gated, or you need a lot more resources and credits. God, I feel like people are going to run with, oh, you compared it to Kingdom Come Deliverance, you're ridiculous. And I'm not saying those two games are like similar or anything like that, but the whole point being that you kind of start off with nothing, and you do really have to build yourself up. Your character doesn't come stronger for no reason, except for the combat tree. That one's basically just straight damage or stat increases. But like a lot of the other tech trees, you know, a lot of skills and things that really change how you do something are built into it. And honestly, I kind of really like it. It feels like every time I level up, I'm excited to unlock a new perk. I get one step closer to getting some more ship parts for my new ship I'm looking for, or I can explore and catalog a planet more efficiently, which in turn gives me more credits and gives me more experience. And yeah, even the more boring elements like exploring and cataloging and scanning all the fauna and flora of a planet can become better with certain perks. And I'll dive into this more when I do a full review. But in the end, yes, the game does have a slow start, and it's not good. You know, the game is not perfect. But I will say the fun does ramp up as you get into it, as you kind of explore and unlock some of those more features. And if you don't want to wait 10 hours for the game to get better, that's fine. That's your decision. That's how you like to play video games. That's how you should enjoy video games. But I will say, if you do wait, the game does ramp up. That is true. You know, so in conclusion, I definitely don't think Starfield is boring. I think Starfield is just a bit misunderstood right now. You know, it's structured, its exploration is a lot different than previous Bethesda games, and its exploration honestly is kind of weak. I will say Starfield is much more like Oblivion than Skyrim. Its main strengths are its plots, its narrative, its side quests, its weird little quirky stuff that you find. You know, where like Skyrim and Fallout are much more focused on exploring and wandering, Starfield and Oblivion are much more focused on role-playing, and maybe focus is the right word there, but it's strengths. And I think with Starfield taking place in space and with 1,000 planets, people really thought that the exploration was going to be one of their main focuses here, one of their main strengths. But that was wrong, and that's on Bethesda for miscommunicating that. You know, again, I'm not just trying to like defend Starfield here or shit on it. I'm just trying to talk about the game in an objective way. You know, but then the game isn't a 10 out of 10. It's not perfect like a lot of people are saying. Skyrim is still far better, at least for me, than Starfield. And even Oblivion to that matter. But I will say it's a good game. It's a good Bethesda game, and it's scratching that Bethesda itch. You know, you kind of got to find your own fun here and wait for the game to ramp up. But once it hits hard. And I think there's a lot to love here. Now, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. I love making these videos and just talking about video games. You know, let me know what you guys think about Starfield. Is it the most boring game you've ever played? Is it a perfect 10 out of 10 and it's Bethesda's magnum opus? I look forward to engaging with you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day.